The Addis Ababa Bole International Airport buzzed with its usual energy. At Gate 5, Ethiopian Airlines Flight ET702 was being prepared for its journey to Rome, Italy. Passengers, a mix of tourists, business people, and returning citizens, lined up to board. Ethiopian Airlines Flight ET702 was ready for takeoff. The Boeing 767-300ER, a workhorse of the skies, stood gleaming under the African sun. Inside the cockpit, Captain Geteni Begashaw and First Officer Hailemedehin Abera-Tegen, both experienced aviators, completed their pre-flight checks. Captain Begashaw exuded an air of quiet confidence. Unbeknownst to the passengers, a storm was brewing inside First Officer Tegane's mind. At precisely 12:30 a.m. local time, the Boeing 767-300ER lifted gracefully into the African night. Inside the cabin, a sense of relief and excitement filled the air. Up in the cockpit, Captain Begashaw excused himself for a brief bathroom break, leaving First Officer Tegane alone at the controls. First Officer Tegane's hand moved swiftly, engaging the cockpit door lock. Captain Begashaw returned from the lavatory, content. As he approached the cockpit door, his hand instinctively reached for the handle, only to find it unresponsive. "Hailemedehin!" he called out, his voice calm but edged with concern. The cockpit door was never locked during flight, a safety protocol drilled into every pilot. Inside the cockpit, First Officer Tegane sat rigidly, his hands gripping the control column. He had taken a gamble, a desperate attempt to escape the suffocating reality of his life in Ethiopia. He reached for the radio, his hand trembling slightly as he adjusted the frequency. He took a deep breath, steeling himself for the inevitable confrontation. Down the aisle, a sense of unease began to spread through the cabin. The flight attendants whispered amongst themselves, their eyes darting towards the cockpit door. The word hijacking, unspoken but heavy in the air, hung over the passengers like a shroud. The cabin lights flickered, plunging the interior into semi-darkness. The silence was shattered by a voice from the cockpit speakers. "This is your first officer speaking." Tegane's voice wavered. "I have taken control of the aircraft. This is not a drill. Our destination is no longer Rome. We are diverting to Geneva, Switzerland." The mention of Geneva sent a ripple of curiosity through the terrified passengers. For Tegane, Geneva represented a beacon of hope, a sanctuary from political persecution. He had spent countless hours researching asylum procedures, meticulously planning his escape. Yet, even as he steered the aircraft towards Swiss airspace, a part of him grappled with the magnitude of his actions. As Ethiopian Airlines Flight ET702 veered off course, air traffic controllers struggled to make sense of the situation. The news sent shockwaves through the international aviation community. Fighter jets scrambled to intercept the rogue aircraft. The world held its breath as Ethiopian Airlines Flight ET702 continued its westward journey. The Boeing 767-300ER, escorted by fighter jets, touched down on the runway at Geneva Airport. Inside the cockpit, First Officer Tegane sat motionless, his hands still clutching the control column. Swiss authorities approached the situation with caution, urging Tegane to release the passengers and crew unharmed. Inside the cabin, a strange calm had settled over the passengers, a shared sense of helplessness in the face of the extraordinary. Section 2. The Rope of Desperation. Minutes stretched into an eternity as negotiations continued, a delicate dance between hope and despair. Tegane, realizing his freedom came at a price, began to grasp the magnitude of the situation. He had become an international news story, his face plastered across screens. The Swiss negotiators offered him a lifeline. They promised a fair hearing if he released the passengers unharmed. Switzerland valued peace and dialogue. Tegane finally relented, his voice hoarse with exhaustion. He agreed to release the passengers but demanded a rope for his escape. It dangled there, a stark symbol of Tegane's desperation. Section 3. A sigh of relief, a wave of questions. Slowly, cautiously, Tegain emerged from the cockpit window, his body silhouetted against the morning sky. He clung to the rope, his descent a surreal spectacle for the passengers and the assembled media watching from a distance. As his feet touched the tarmac, he was swiftly apprehended by Swiss police, his brief taste of freedom ending with the cold, hard reality of handcuffs. Inside the cabin, a collective sigh of relief swept through the passengers, a wave of emotion washing over them. They were safe, their ordeal finally over. Cheers erupted, tears flowed freely, and strangers embraced, united in their shared experience, a tapestry of fear and relief woven together in the most extraordinary of circumstances. The passengers and crew disembarked, their faces etched with a mixture of exhaustion and relief, their steps shaky but determined. They were met with a phalanx of cameras, microphones, and reporters, all eager to capture their stories, their emotions, their perspectives on the hijacking that had captivated the world. As the sun rose higher in the sky, casting its golden light over Geneva Airport, Ethiopian Airlines Flight ET702 stood as a stark reminder of the fragility of peace, the vulnerability of modern aviation, and the unpredictable nature of human behavior. Section 1. Whispers of discontent. News of Tegain's surrender spread like wildfire, a wave of relief washing over the international community. The hijacking, a tense drama that had unfolded in the skies above Europe, had finally reached a peaceful resolution. Yet as the initial shock subsided, a more nuanced narrative began to emerge, one that questioned the motives of the hijacker and the complexities of the situation. Within Ethiopia, reactions to Tegain's actions were mixed. Some expressed sympathy for his plight, viewing his desperate act as a cry for help, a condemnation of the government's perceived authoritarianism. They saw him as a victim of circumstance, a man driven to extreme measures by a system they believed had failed to protect its citizens. Others, however, were less forgiving. They condemned his actions as reckless and selfish, a betrayal of trust that had endangered the lives of innocent people. They argued that his personal grievances, however legitimate, did not justify hijacking an aircraft and holding its passengers and crew hostage. The Ethiopian government, facing international scrutiny, vehemently denied Tegain's claims of political persecution. They painted him as a troubled individual, his actions motivated by personal issues rather than political dissent. They launched their own investigation, promising to uncover the truth behind the hijacking and hold those responsible accountable. In Switzerland, Tegain's fate rested in the hands of the Swiss legal system. He was charged with hijacking, kidnapping, and endangering lives. His case tested Switzerland's commitment to human rights and international law. The defense argued he was a refugee seeking asylum. They presented him as a victim of persecution. The prosecution claimed his actions were premeditated. They argued he hijacked the aircraft to Geneva. The courtroom became a battleground of competing narratives. The world watched, eager to see how Switzerland would navigate this case. As the legal proceedings dragged on, the world grappled with the unanswered questions that lingered in the wake of the hijacking. What had driven Tegain to such desperate measures? Was he a victim of persecution, a desperate man seeking refuge from a repressive regime, or was he a troubled individual whose actions were motivated by personal demons? The hijacking of Ethiopian Airlines Flight ET702 exposed the vulnerabilities of modern aviation, highlighting the challenges of balancing security measures with the need to protect individual rights. It sparked a global debate about mental health in the aviation industry, raising questions about the psychological pressures faced by pilots and the need for better screening and support systems. The incident also served as a stark reminder of the interconnectedness of our world, where events in one corner of the globe can have far-reaching consequences. It underscored the importance of international cooperation, diplomacy, and dialogue in addressing complex global challenges, from human rights abuses to the threat of terrorism. In the end, the hijacking of Ethiopian Airlines Flight ET702 became a case study in the unpredictable nature of human behavior, the complexities of international law, and the enduring human capacity for both compassion and condemnation. It left an indelible mark on the aviation industry, prompting a reassessment of security protocols and a renewed focus on the well-being of those who work in the skies. The Swiss courtroom, a solemn chamber of high ceilings and polished wood, echoed with anticipation. The trial of Hailemedehen Abera Tegain, The co-pilot who commandeered Ethiopian Airlines Flight ET702 captivated the world. After weeks of testimony and media scrutiny, the moment of judgment arrived. The judge, stoic and measured, delivered the verdict. Tegan was sentenced to 19 years in prison. The sentence balanced justice and recognition of his mental state. The court recommended psychological counseling, a glimmer of hope for rehabilitation. For the passengers and crew of Ethiopian Airlines Flight ET702, the ordeal had left an indelible mark. They returned to their lives forever changed, haunted by the memories of that harrowing flight, the fear that had gripped them, the uncertainty that had clouded their futures. Some struggled to cope with the psychological aftermath, plagued by nightmares, flashbacks, and a lingering sense of vulnerability. The trauma of that day manifested in different ways, a constant reminder of the fragility of life and the ever-present potential for chaos. Yet amidst the trauma, stories of resilience and courage emerged. Passengers who had faced their fears, comforted strangers, and found strength in unity. Flight attendants who had remained calm under duress, their professionalism and compassion a beacon of hope in the darkness. The hijacking had tested their limits, but it had also revealed their strength, their capacity for compassion, and their unyielding will to survive. Their stories, a testament to the human spirit, became a source of inspiration, reminding the world that even in the face of adversity, hope and resilience can prevail. The hijacking of Ethiopian Airlines Flight ET702 served as a wake-up call for the aviation industry, a stark reminder of the ever-present need for vigilance and the importance of addressing security gaps. It sparked a global reassessment of security protocols, a renewed focus on passenger safety, and a deeper understanding of the psychological pressures faced by those who work in the skies. New security measures were implemented, from enhanced cockpit door security to stricter passenger screening procedures. Training programs for pilots and crew were revised, incorporating mental health awareness and stress management techniques. The industry, shaken but determined, embraced a proactive approach, striving to prevent similar incidents from occurring in the future. The incident also highlighted the importance of international cooperation in addressing the complex challenges of aviation security. Information sharing between governments, intelligence agencies, and airlines was strengthened, fostering a more collaborative approach to identifying potential threats and mitigating risks. The skies, once a symbol of freedom and limitless possibility, had been momentarily darkened by the shadow of fear. Yet, from the ashes of that experience, a renewed commitment to safety and security emerged. The lessons learned from Ethiopian Airlines Flight ET702 resonated throughout the aviation industry, a solemn reminder that the pursuit of safety is an ongoing journey, a shared responsibility that demands constant vigilance and unwavering dedication. The Swiss court's decision reverberated far beyond the courtroom walls, sparking discussions about justice, accountability, and international asylum laws. Human rights organizations grappled with the implications, debating the balance between individual rights and collective safety. Some argued the sentence was too harsh, given Tegan's mental state and asylum claims. They emphasized understanding and support for persecuted individuals. Others maintained the sentence reflected the crime's severity. They stressed upholding aviation laws to deter future hijackings. The verdict reignited conversations about verifying asylum claims, highlighting the challenges faced by countries with growing asylum seekers. The verdict provided closure but reminded of the complex interplay between security, human rights, and the rule of law. The hijacking of Ethiopian Airlines Flight ET702 ignited a global conversation about aviation security. It highlighted vulnerabilities and the human element in ensuring safety. Airports enhanced security protocols, focusing on cockpit door security and rigorous screening. Improved communication between ground staff, air traffic control, and flight crews was emphasized. The incident also brought attention to mental health in the aviation industry. It underscored the need for international cooperation to enhance global aviation safety. The story of Ethiopian Airlines Flight ET702, marked by fear and uncertainty, became a testament to human resilience, the enduring power of hope, and the pursuit of a safer world. Passengers and crew demonstrated remarkable courage and composure. Their ordeal reminded us of life's fragility, the importance of cherishing every moment, and the human spirit's capacity to endure and overcome adversity. The hijacking left a mark on the aviation industry, prompting changes in security protocols and mental health awareness. Lessons from ET702 shape how we fly today, driving efforts to enhance safety measures and promote well-being. The legacy of ET702 extends beyond aviation, reminding us of empathy, understanding, and compassion. It highlighted the need to address desperation and despair, creating a world where individuals feel heard and supported. The story of ET702 is a testament to the enduring human spirit, the capacity for growth from adversity, and the pursuit of a safer, more compassionate world.